Welcome to the Mindset Game podcast. I am thrilled and excited and deeply grateful to have a very special guest with us today, Debbie Allen. Debbie Allen is an internationally recognized business growth and market positioning expert. She has been a professional speaker and a business mentor for over 25 years and presented before thousands of people in 28 countries. Debbie is also a best-selling author of 9 books, including The Highly Paid Expert and Success is Easy, as well as being a VIP contributor to Entrepreneur Magazine and an award-winning entrepreneur who has built and sold numerous multi-million-dollar companies in a variety of industries. On a personal note, I met Debbie through the National Speakers Association, which we're both professional members of, and I've had the opportunity to attend one of Debbie's trainings, which was extraordinarily helpful to me personally. So Debbie, it is absolutely an honor to have you here with us. Thank you.
My pleasure. I'll share everything that I possibly can. And if my goal today is to let people actually believe that success is easy because nobody's said it before. So we'll cover some of those things. I know you enjoyed the book.
I did. And I align 100% with everything that's in there. And I love the fact that not only do you teach this, but you live it. You live it, and you've seen thousands and thousands of other people live it. So how about we get started with you sharing a little bit about how you got to doing the awesome things that you do today?
Wow. It's been a journey. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 19 years old. I've never gone to college. I've never even applied for a job in my life. I just truly think like an entrepreneur. And I believe that success is easy because I didn't even get good grades in high school. Like, everything that could go wrong could have gone wrong for me, right? But I was lucky to find mentors. And I say luck because there's a design of luck, right? You look for it, you seek it out. I've always been a sponge to learn what I want to learn, but I was a terrible student at what I had to learn. So when I discovered what I was passionate about and wanted to learn that, it was like it just took off. I started out in a family business, right out of high school. In fact, I wasn't even out of high school when I was still working there, and then bought into that family business. It was a car rental business outside of Gary, Indiana, which I, coin as the armpit of the USA, pretty much. Anybody that knows about Gary, Indiana, it's not like I'm really putting it down, just telling you like it is, because it's one of the number one murder capitals and car theft areas in the country. So it's, not a pleasant place to be sometimes. You got to watch your back. But, growing up outside of that area and growing up in a business that dealt with, back then, even drug lords and all kinds of stuff, people coming in to rent cars. Sometimes they come back with bullet holes in them. I mean, it was crazy. I look back on that and I go, I'm in my 20s and I didn't know to be fearful. It was just like, this was a job I had to do. And if, your credit card was bad, I was going to cut it up in front of you and, do whatever it had to make it work, and so we'd have to go out and repossess rental cars. But here it was, is my dad threw the business basically at my brother and I. We were both in our 20s and just, hey, run it, figure it out. And it went from 5 rental cars to 250 rental cars, campers, vans, still there till today at 50 years later, and my brother owns it. And so, I learned a ton. I learned that you have to do whatever it takes in business. I learned that I could have confidence. I think I learned confidence because it was really a tough business and it was so many different things going on. One of the other things I learned is that my dad would like starting a new business like every 6 months. So he didn't like running them. He liked starting them. That was like the excitement of it. Right. And then he'd throw it in our laps. But the thing is, you can't have multiple businesses in different directions running all the same time, because I saw that when he took his focus away from where the money was, then it would be affected where, the biggest income stream was. And only one other business that he did that really took off, that sold, a $1 million company, was our mini storage business. And we were one of the first in Northwest Indiana to have mini storage companies. And he went to a banker and the banker said, no, it's a fad. This isn't going to work. And so what I learned from that lesson was, if you believe in something, don't take no for an answer. Just keep asking. You have the wrong audience, or you haven't given enough information. Or if you still can't get a yes, then make it happen anyway. And he did. We didn't get all the money to start the first mini storage. So they were out there hanging garage doors and doing whatever they had to do to make it work. And we had 100% occupancy as soon as they opened, because there was none out there. And then we built another facility. And then within a few years later, we sold it to a major company called Public Storage. We were just going around and buying all like the mom and pop startups of a lot of the self-storage, public storage units. So, after that sale, I realized I've been doing this long enough. I got to be looking for another idea. I got to be looking for a direction to go. Anything besides this. I want my own business. I want to make 100% of my own decisions. But, Vera, do you know what happens with that is you also make 100% of all your mistakes, right? And so I just started looking, and then my mother had a clothing store, and it was kind of a hobby business. She hadn't really made much money at it all. I had never worked a day in retail, gone to a couple buying trips with her. That was it. She said, buy my store because I want to move out of state. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. Yeah, how's that going to work? But I did. I bought the store, and everybody said, you're crazy because you don't know anything. And then I found out that there was mentors out there. I mean, I looked for people to help me. And I took that business from $100,000 to a multi-million-dollar business within 2 years in multiple locations. But I didn't do it because I was just that much smarter. It was because I surrounded myself with a group of mentors, kind of like this amazing mastermind that didn't even exist back then, and got invited in just because I was a sponge to learn. I was enthusiastic, and they took me under their wing, and they allowed me to join that group. And so within, 6 months of having my store, I've got a buying office in New York. I'm traveling, with them, and they're sharing all their marketing ideas, every hot line. I mean, it was such exciting times to be in the fashion industry and to be traveling and see my business grow exponentially so quickly. It was really a cool thing. Like, it would always be like, okay, 6 months from now, I'm going to have another store, and I'm going to expand this store. And it was just like, it was crazy. And I was in the boutique type of business at the right time. So I did that for about 15 years. And then when I was going to these markets, I was like, I should be sharing my information with people and telling them how I did this. And there was no seminars at all. There was like, nobody did seminars. There's thousands of people going to these shows in Vegas and everywhere. And then I went up to the person that's running the show, and I said, why did you have seminars here? You're not helping people be successful. And then I told him my story, and then my sales rep was there, and he's talking me up, and he's like, yeah, she could do this seminar. And so they gave me a shot. And that was how I started my speaking business. I didn't know there was a speaking business. I didn't know about national speakers. I didn't know anything. But I knew about success. And I knew how to fill a room in Vegas, because I just didn't give up. And I said, if I have standing room only in my seminar, then will you pay me next time and refer me to 3 more clients? And then they said yes. And that's how I started my speaking business. And that was 25 years ago. I just didn't look back, and then when I got in that, it was like, find your mentors again, keep going.
Wow. So thank you for sharing that. I mean, there are literally dozens of nuggets, in those stories and everything that you shared. And if you were to zoom in on one lesson right now that you wish for everyone to know, almost like that it would be in the manual every time a baby is born, yes, and just go right into their heart, what would that lesson be?
I think if you want something, if you're passionate about building a business or have a great idea, is don't let the dream stealers take it away from you. I had dream stealers all around me telling me I couldn't do it so many times. I use that as motivation, actually. Okay, how dare you tell me I can't do this? That motivates me to do it and do it better than I can. Thank you for that, right? So it was like, ignoring the dream stealers or using them as motivation. And the second thing is, you don't have to know the how. Because every business I've ever started, I did not know the how. I figured it out, not the hard way, making a ton of mistakes. Not that I didn't make a lot of mistakes, but I had a huge shortcut of mistakes because I would find people that were already successful and say, can you teach me? Can you teach me? And that in every part of my life. So if you look at it, never going to college at all, my professors were actually real life, school of hard knocks, people that are out there making the money. So, I have a master's degree many times over in business by working with true entrepreneurs, successful entrepreneurs that helped me, raise my business up to that next level.
Yeah, and it's such an important point to make. So I'm so grateful that you're focusing on that because and I know this to be true. Also, one of the things I'm trained is NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and one of the core essences there is about modeling. Yes, if you want something, find somebody as you did, right, who's doing it
Mm-hmm.
successfully, consistently, and model them, and not just model the behavior, model their values, model their beliefs. Right?
Right, their core beliefs.
Yeah.
And that is really important too. That's a good point too, Vera. Is like, I've have a lot of JV partners. Sometimes we just do a short little JV, swap to marketing or something. But again, it always goes down to those core values. That's a key thing. And I think if you've been in business as long as I've been in business, it's like I have to be in business with somebody who has the same core values, or I have to leave. That means ethical. That means delivering what you say you're going to deliver, and more. Just the way you do business, always being honest, being upfront, and just being true to who you say you are. And I've had to leave some really tough partnerships in business because, as you get down the path, they seem to have the same core values, you really connect, and then it's like, you're trying to make this work, and there's been too many red flags where, they're not getting things done, and that's reflecting on your reputation in business. And that comes down to even leadership in any organization, is that everything trickles down from the leadership. So, if there's problems that are happening in an organization, look at the leadership every single time, because if people feel valued within an organization, if they can relate to your core values, they're going to jump on board and they're going to be the right people. And if they don't relate to your core values, it doesn't matter what you can teach them, new sales tricks, new this and that, they're still the bad person. They're not going to have the good values that you have. And that, I think, is really important in business, because your reputation is part of your brand. It's part of everything that you do, your customer service, everything.
Yeah, and it's such an important point once again, because when you align the values, right, then everything is easy, right? Because what is most important to us personally aligns with what's most important for the team or for the organization. And this concept of alignment is important also for ourselves with ourselves. So I know you speak a lot about intention, how important it is to define success your way. Yes, not what other people might deem to be successful. And part of that, knowing what you want and why you want it. Would you be willing to share a little bit more about that?
Right. One of the things I love saying is define success on your own terms, is because when I say success is easy, what is your value of success? Like, does it have to be, I have to have this multi-million dollar house. I have to drive this car. I have to, hang around with these kind of people, wear these kind of clothes. That is not what success is. In my book, success is achieving. Feel like I put something out there and I've achieved. Now, sometimes you put something out there and it doesn't get to the number that you want in your head. You go, oh, I didn't really do very good, and then you have to evaluate that, because success on my terms is sharing success. That's just key. Every time I have success, I must share success. It's just part of who I am. And just realizing that it really makes a difference in knowing what you want, what is important to you, because otherwise you're always going to be disappointed. No matter what level of success you have, you're always going to be disappointed because you said, well, I set this goal because I want to be like that person, and that was my picture of success. But what is it you want? What makes you feel successful? It doesn't have to be a number. It doesn't have to be a dollar amount. If you're doing some work that's making a difference in the world, if you love what you do and you love your team and you really you really think that's great, then you're successful. And loving what you do in your business, I think alone is successful. If you're in a career right now and you don't love it, you better be creating a side hustle and getting out of there, because one of my other things is that, if it's not fun, I'm out, because it's not going to be easy. Because once it gets not fun anymore, like I mentioned, the partnerships or different things I'm doing in my business, I'll change it up. Like, it's not fun anymore. Like when I did the 3-year world tour and was speaking everywhere, it was fun. It was amazing. And I learned so much about so many cultures, and I would never, I pinch myself and say, wow, you had that experience, but it became not fun anymore. After a few years, it became exhausting. And I really didn't have a life. And so success to me is also having a balance, having a business lifestyle. And the word success changes throughout every stage of your life. When you're growing up, you're young, you might be like, okay, I want to keep going up to the next level, climbing that career ladder, making more money, proven to myself I can make money and be successful. And then it changes, gets into partnerships and maybe new business opportunities. And then as you've been in it, you're a seasoned veteran, you've got the skill sets, you've got a client base, you've already got that business coming in, but you want to do it in a way that makes you feel successful. And to me now, that is having a lot of freedom. And so I still take on a lot of personal mentoring clients and do my own events and do all these things. I do more coaching and mentoring than I do professional speaking now, just because, I've done the travel, I've been there, done it. Doesn't mean I need to check it off the list, but it means that I don't want to do that full time. That wouldn't be fun to me anymore. So, I have reinvented myself so many times over when I felt it wasn't fun. And again, that really ties in, Vera, it is into the success is easy, because if it's not fun, it's hard. And then you constantly think success is hard, or what I'm doing is hard. That is the green light that says you need to change something up.
Thank you. So what would you say to those individuals listening right now that might say, okay, I'm ready to make that shift, to reinvent. It's not fun anymore, right? So they're redefining what success means to them, but at the same time, they're afraid or worried or feel guilty about, letting other people down. Maybe they have business partners, maybe their family, right? So meaning their decision is their decision, yet it has a ripple effect on other people. So how do we make that decision, make that shift when it's hard because there are other people involved?
Well, it shouldn't be hard to be true to yourself. And I was always an independent person, growing up. And yeah, it was hard. And I feel guilty leaving the family business. And did it even cause, just a little bit of a little bit of a rift between the family for, my father and myself for a while. Yes. But to me, and even other times in my life where even my mom said, when are you going to slow down? What does that mean? Like retire? Well, no, like work less. I'm like, I don't know. Why are you asking that? And she's like, because I'm getting older. I'm like, well, hell, I'm getting older too. What's that mean? So, well, you need to spend more time with me. And I'm like, no, I need to make a difference in the world. And, I'll spend as much time as I can with you, but this is not, that doesn't fit my passion, right? When you're an entrepreneur, you just keep working all the time. And, you want to, because you want to create new things. So it really comes down to being true to you. And again, it's been hard when I've had to say no to friends or family or partners, but it's business, right? And people would say like, when I sold my retail stores, and people say, oh gosh, you sold that store, and didn't it make you feel like bad when that person wasn't as successful as you were, or that they might've lost that business or whatever it was, right? I said, no, it's business. Business is business, and you don't think it's your baby that you hold on to. And I think that's a key, is like, you don't get emotionally attached to it. I mean, I am somewhat emotionally attached when I'm growing businesses for my clients, because they're really my business family, but I'm attached only in the way that I care enough for them to be successful. And if they're going off track, I'm like, okay, come back over here. This is where we need to go. But it's not, and this just brings me back to another point as I'm thinking about this too. I left a partnership recently. I spent a year and a half with this partnership, took them to one location to 28 locations. We were building a global brand. And it was, again, this on alignment of our values and what was getting done. And it was the hardest thing to pull out, because I had invested my time and energy. Plus I invited a lot of my clients and people that respected me and my opinion to join. And when it fell apart, it was really hard, because I did have that guilt, but I knew every day I stayed in there, that was just, I was going to be unhappy. And so it isn't right. It isn't work. If you're listening to this right now and you're just not happy, what's making you unhappy? Is it an imbalance in the leadership in your organization? Is it because you don't feel valued yourself? What is it? Define it first. Really sit and analyze, is this where you need to be? Because if you're just putting time in and you're not getting your true value and who you really are as a person, then success is going to continually be hard for you. You're just putting in the time to get a paycheck, or putting in the time because you have a number in your head that you have to make this a certain amount of money. I have completely walked away from things where I was making amazing money to like nothing. And I would rather have go back to ground zero and build up again than to stay where I felt stuck or undervalued. And every single time, if you're listening to this now, do not be afraid. You have those skills, you have those talents. And if you're not really putting them in the right place, you're not serving anybody, especially not yourself. And so you're going to take that bag of tricks, those skill sets, that knowledge you have, and you're going to put it into the next thing. And that's going to give you the speed to take off in that next business or that next venture, because you're not really ever starting at ground zero. It took everything away from you right now as you're listening and think everything's gone. You're still going to make it because you have developed those experiences and knowledge that you'll just take it on to something else. This morning I was just on my own podcast, Access to Experts, interviewing someone who has been a 5-time serial entrepreneur. And she has just, every time it wasn't working or shifted, she just shifted or looked for an opportunity and went there. And, I think that's what you need to do, whether you're listening here as you got a career. You might even have the golden handcuffs. You've been there for a long time. Only you have to stick it out for another 5 or 10 more years, and then I can get on with my life. And then you go retire and you go, what is my life? Right. So if you're thinking like that, at least be creating some kind of side hustle, some kind of online business. This is the key right now. That magnification is growing. It's so easy to build an online business and become an expert at something. And a lot of my clients are people that come out of the corporate market that are going, can you help me find my next thing, my next chapter? And that's exactly what I do, Veritas. I look and say, what are your skills you have? What do you like doing? What can you teach other people? And then start building a business from there.
Oh, wow. And it's such a wonderful gift to give to people, that permission to listen to their own heart and to say yes to themselves. And you said it's all in balance, and everything tends to work out when you really follow what your heart is telling you. And I'm curious, Debbie, for those individuals who, are at a point now where they, as you said, maybe they're unfulfilled in their career, maybe there's some kind of an issue in their organization that they're in or in their own business, and they're wanting to know what's next, but they're not quite sure what that is. So you talked about kind of exploring what are their skills, what are the things that potentially are fun for them, and how does mindset come into play as well?
Well, I think you're going to have days where, of course, if everything, no income is coming in, there's no business, you're going to have a day where you're going, am I cool anymore? Like, can I create money? Can I make this happen? And I've been there, Vera. I even a couple of days ago, I had that thought, am I cool anymore? Like, and the next day it changes, right? Like, very seldom do I go through those thoughts anymore, but I get it when people think like that, because anytime we're trying something new, we kind of guess ourselves or we're going to the next thing. But I basically find out, like, what are you passionate about? Like, a lot of people that have been in the corporate market, they have a lot of wisdom to share. A lot of them want to go into the consulting world. That makes sense. And if you're a consultant, you need to be a speaker, because, you're going to be out there sharing and training as well as consulting, create that other income stream. You speaking to self-consulting. And there's and then maybe write a book, there's another way, and then use the book to create an online course. So it's all it is your knowledge placed into communication boxes, if we could say that. Speaker, being a speaker who educates and sells a program, being a speaker who gets paid, being a consultant who works inside of corporations or has people come to them and do VIP days, or does it all on the phone. There's so many different ways of doing it. It's just you sharing your wisdom with somebody else in a way that you can transfer. This is really key, is transfer your information on to somebody else. So it's not like you just go and tell people what to do and leave. I mean, you really have to have a system in place so that you see that momentum that your client is getting from the knowledge that you're sharing. Otherwise, it really isn't sticking. So there's another skill set. You need to be, learn how to be a good coach or consultant to get what people want, and be able to listen. And I think if you've been in business a long time, you're almost like a business intuitive. I call myself a business intuitive, but just about anything somebody throws at me, I'm going to have an answer. I'm going to have a way to turn it into money, sometimes a quick cash formula, if that's what they want. I don't have any money. I've been out of a job for a long time, and I really need to create some quick cash, and that's going to give me some confidence too. And so I'll put a quick cash formula together for them and let them go out and make, 10,000 by doing an online class or something like that and go, okay, hey, I can do that. It's just that's kind of a jump start to where I teach people how to do their own events and make multiple six figures in a weekend by putting people in the room and then selling their programs from there. But I didn't always start that way. I was a one trick pony, Barrett. I was, and a lot of speakers even, if you have speakers on your show, is that, I'm sorry, that was a one trick pony, a paid speaking business. And we know what it does when there's a pandemic, when there's an economic crash. It's like business just dies. But when you're an expert who uses speaking to create other income streams, it never stops because we've had the internet. We've been able to just continue on and do more things online. And that's made it easier for more people to step into this space, into this expert world, because you don't have to leave home. In fact, I'm going to Hawaii. I'll be 2 months in Hawaii this summer. It's like I bring my microphone with me. I do a few calls and podcast things and a couple trainings, and the rest I just, I hang out at the beach. That's a lifestyle.
And really what I'm hearing, in between the words, thank you, Debbie, is first of all, everything is possible. Even when we can't quite see the how, all the steps to getting there, or what are those potential sources of income, or how can I make it happen? It starts with a belief that it is possible. And then it's about seeking out, the help to help us access that, or to kind of access our own intuitive guidance. Yes, to go inward and to be flexible and adaptable. Yeah, along the way. And one of the things that you teach in your book, which I absolutely love, is this concept of, get your ask in gear. What is that? And how can that help people to embrace more of that empowered mindset that they can do it?
Yeah, I mean, that's just something I've always been. It's like who I am, but I always get my ask in gear in the service of others, or I always promote myself in the service of others. And that's a key. Is like, it doesn't come from an ego. It doesn't come from a place of being pushy or intrusive. Is that, I will ask when I see there's an opportunity. And I'm going to give you a story of this, actually how that book existed. So I used to I always get my Entrepreneur magazine that comes every month. It's still in print and online. I look at Entrepreneur magazine, and in the back of it, there's all these books by Brian Tracy and Dan Kennedy and all these marketing gurus I've followed for years. And I like their books. They're like a little shelf thing. It's a picture of like shelf, and they have all these books. Like, how do you get your book here? Featured in Entrepreneur magazine. And then I'd look through the magazine and be like, oh, here's one that's got a half page. Here's one they're promoting a book on a full page ad. Wow, that would be a lot of money. Like, how would you even get an opportunity to get there if you didn't pay for it and just got that showcase? And so that's all I did is like, I've written a number of books. I had major publishers. I didn't know that Entrepreneur magazine actually was a publisher, that they had Entrepreneur Press. I didn't even realize that. Some of their books are published by them, some aren't. And so I happened to go to the National Speakers Convention, and I went to a class about Jeffrey Hazlett teaching on how to write a bestseller. His publisher, Entrepreneur Press. His book is featured in Entrepreneur magazine. I remember seeing it in there. And of course, that's why I went to his class. I'm like, oh my gosh. But see, it aligned me. So subconsciously, I was aligning very quickly, like in a matter of months, right? And then here I am sitting in his class. And there's like 100 speakers and authors in this class. And I end up raising my hand. Like, nobody else is raising your hand to ask a question. And I raise my hand and I say, and this is how I got my asking gear. Okay. It wasn't like I asked him, how did you do this? Because you don't go right to the point. I said, Jeffrey, congratulations on your book. With Entrepreneur, that's like my dream publisher, being an entrepreneur all my life. That is so amazing. It's great. Congratulations for that. And you sold you said like 500,000 copies. That's just, wow, it's just amazing. I just want to honor you because it's always been my dream. And then I say in the next sentence, I say, well, I got a book title, Success is Easy. I haven't wrote the book proposal yet, but I told him a couple things about it in front of the audience. And then he goes, well, I'll connect you to my publisher at Entrepreneur. I said, wow, okay, great. And then he starts chatting again, comes back about 5 minutes later and goes, well, make sure you send me an email, Deb, to remind me to connect you with that publisher. I'm like, yeah, no problem. Like I'm doing it now on my phone. And so within 10 days of being there at the convention, I was on the phone with Entrepreneur and one person that was in the sales and marketing team, manager, and she loved it. First of all, the right timing was they wanted stronger women, more stronger focus on women on the covers. If you notice Entrepreneur Magazine, they're putting younger people on the cover, they're putting women on the cover, they're putting, a lot of diversity, but they want to show really strong women's empowerment. And so when I told her that, and then I got the title, she was like, oh my gosh, I can't tell you for sure we're going to buy it, but I'm already sold on it. And just to tell you, Deb, I'm like the head of the team. Like, oh my gosh, I got off the phone. I was like, I can't even believe this, or pinching myself. Right. So she says, how quick can you get the book proposal done? Because I actually hired somebody to write the proposal, because I really, that's like the hardest thing. And I had to have it in like 3 days. So I said, I just found somebody, like, how much money can I throw at you to stay up all weekend to get this done? So we got it done, and they bought it like that, and gave me a great advance. And I went to their office and worked with them on the marketing plan ahead of time. And I'm sitting there and it's like totally surreal, because that is a total manifestation of believing in your idea. I mean, and I don't even know that I believed in the title yet. I thought it was a good title. But again, I hadn't written the proposal. I didn't have all the direction. I just went, I'll tell my stories and I'll give lessons, tell my stories, give lessons. But so that's a really key story of that manifestation, having a vision and going for it. And I subconsciously was led to an easy way to make that happen. And even I told the publisher on the phone, I was like, well, the book of success is easy. So the publishing deal should have been just as easy. Thank you for making it so easy to work with you.
And I sense from what you shared that success was easy because you took the time to follow your heart's guidance. Yes. So you had this magazine, there was a desire that was born, and you imagined it, right? You could practically taste it, it sounds like, yes. And you repeated that, and that energy kind of grew and grew and grew, and you took action. Yes. You showed up to the event, you showed up to that particular session, you got the courage to speak from your heart, and an opportunity came. And even though, as you said, you were a little bit surprised perhaps by it, didn't expect it, and you still went for it. You didn't say, I can't do it in 3 days. You went for it. You got help. You made it happen. It's almost like you've asked yourself, okay, well, what is it going to take for me to do this? And you did it. And I think that if everyone listening can follow what you did, and even when they don't know how, and even when they don't even necessarily 100% believe in themselves, but they still go for it, believing that it's possible, that unconsciously they will be led, then magical things can happen, as you said, and of course from a giving heart, because this book has a lot of love in it, and I imagine you knew this, and you created it for that reason, to share that love.
Well, Vera, that's kind of funny that you said that, because I love what you said, heart guided. That's just awesome. And I'm glad you see that in the book, because I really, it was authentic me. Like when I speak, people say, you're so authentic, you're so real. Well, isn't that the way we're supposed to be? It's just who I am, right? I never put up a facade. But in the book, it was the same way. I even asked the publisher, I use these words. I said, can I do a little bitch slapping in there? Like, can I put some cuss words in there? Can I really be a little edgy? Because it's like, I think that's the only way I'm going to get my message across. So I did a little edginess in there. They allowed me to do whatever I wanted to, pretty much. But that's really cool that you say that, because I felt like I was coming from a little bit of I want to spank you if you don't get this, right? Because I want you to get it. But there is my heart, because I care enough to want you to get this. And that's what you read in it. So that makes me feel great. Thank you for that. That made my day.
Well, I certainly feel your heart, and I'm so grateful that you're spreading this message, because whether success is easy or whether success is hard, it's a decision that we make. And then everything follows that decision. Because if we believe success is easy, even if we don't yet necessarily believe it actually, but just decide it, right? Just decide. For me, success is easy. Kind of like you mentioned the example of Muhammad Ali, right? Mm-hmm. The shameless self-promoting, right? I am the greatest.
Yep.
Yes. And he projected that belief, and then it became his reality.
Most definitely. And then, the media used to beat him up and say, oh gosh, such a big ego and all this. And he'd create these poems and, but boy, he got attention, and he really, truly believed it. He found, if I have to speak the words of affirmation and I speak those out in front of the public, then I'm going to push myself to do it. And he's a great example of very successful, shameless self-promotion. And we'll remember him forever, and very well admired, because a lot of people weren't doing it back then.
One of the quotes actually that I love by Muhammad Ali that really highlights what you're sharing here is that it is the repetition of the affirmations, yes, and the affirmations with meaning, of course, as you said, with emotion, with feeling, and that creates that belief. And when it becomes a deep conviction, then things begin to happen. As you said, opportunities tend to show up in our life, even when we don't expect them. And it's a very empowering concept, Debbie, for everyone listening who is saying, I've tried to be successful and I just couldn't. Yes, I did this, it didn't work. I did that, it didn't work. All the failures. What do you have to say to those individuals that all they can see is failure upon failure?
Well, because they're focused on the failure. I mean, I have them too, of course. But you look at the success stories that you have. Because I could look at that book and go, okay, I got an Entrepreneur Magazine, check. Got a good advance, and got a publisher that was really great to work with, check. They did a great marketing thing, check. Everything was a great experience. And then I had this big book signing party, put out all this money. And then after I did it, I was like, well, should I have invested that much money in the book signing? Maybe I could have done something else. You're always going to question yourself, right? But I knew that it was something I wanted to celebrate, because it was a big win in my life, as far as being an entrepreneur. And then you're featured, because I had a full page ad for my book in Entrepreneur Magazine. And so I was getting creative, as like I had to do a photo shoot, and what can I do this photo shoot to make it stand out on my full page ad? Because usually the book is like really big, and the book is really big, and then there's a little picture of you. That's the way they show it. And sometimes they don't even show pictures of the authors at all. So when I had a photo shoot done with a Wonder Woman cape, and so it's blowing in the breeze, right? We did all these crazy shots, and here I am with this Wonder Woman cape on, saying success is easy. So they put the picture of me with a cape, like huge. The book was kind of small. But they loved it. And they, I guess that you're accepted, whether you're accepted in a corporation, accepted in leadership, accepted as an entrepreneur into the higher levels. It's kind of like, okay, what I'm doing is making a difference. And that's what I look at now, not the money of it, is like, I'm making a difference. So when you step up to say, I want to be an expert at something, I want to write a book and be successful to help people, whatever it is, right? You get out of those excuse zones and say, this isn't going to work, because now you've stepped up to a higher level, that you now have to be there in support of other people. So it isn't about you anymore. And that's the thing. Get out of your own way. Even speakers that are really bad speakers, this, they're thinking about themselves, especially they first get up there and they go, oh, I'm really nervous. I'm like, why'd you tell me that? Right. Or they just, they just do things that you could tell they're not focused on the audience. They're focused on themselves. So they're focused on the fear, the failure, the doubt. That shows up like a neon sign, right? Confidence. You've got to focus on celebrating every one of your wins, every one of your successes, and that builds confidence. Because people ask me all the time, where did you get this confidence you have? Just being out there doing it. I mean, doing so many things and being in the business world for a long time, that you just know you do it. And again, a lot of times that confidence has to start new, because I'm starting something completely different that I hadn't tried before. But I think that as long as, for me, what your thing is, like, I have to be creative, I have to be helping people, I have to be achieving something. I couldn't just stop working and not do this. I will always do this. It's because I was put on this earth for this. And I think if more people can realize what they really were put on this earth for, that not just makes a difference in their lives and their families' lives, but other people in some way, that they have found their success. Because how many people can say they get up every day and go, wow, I get to do what I love every day. And I get to, if I don't love it anymore, I'll just do something else. It's a cool thing.
Which is why it's so important that you share this message, because some people, may be clear or beginning to get some clarity about, what lights their heart up. And then the first thought is, I can't do it, or it's going to be too hard, or I don't know how to do it. It's going to take too long, too much money, and all of that doubt. And as you said, it's normal to have doubt when there's something new or different. You, right, who speaks about this sometimes, has those moments of doubt, or the moments of kind of those shadow beliefs showing up. And that's normal as part of a change. In fact, we can kind of expected. The question is, as you said, what do we do with it? What do we choose to focus on? And we need to first accept what are the thoughts, right? How are we feeling before we can change that? And may I share a quick story with you?
Most definitely.
So this week I was speaking with a group of CEOs, and we were doing a process to release limiting beliefs. And right as we were kind of getting started with the process, she's written, this is one of the participants had written out her goal, just like you suggested, saying, kind of really tuning into the emotion, why it's meaningful and important, getting some clarity about that, how she will know, right? The definition of success, how will she know that she's got it, and so on. And her belief was that change is hard. Yes, that was the limiting belief. And when we were about to start a process to change it, she said to me, Vered, I don't want to do this. I got to tell you, my body is resisting it. I don't want to do this. I don't know what's happening, but it was like, right. I don't want to get
The
near
fear.
the process.
Mhm.
Exactly. So consciously, of course, she wanted to let that go and experience more ease to achieve her goal, but her body didn't want it. And it goes right back to what you're speaking about, that many of us grew up believing that change needs to be hard, or it's going to take a long time and all of this stuff. And so that became her strategy. I'm going to, right, work really, really, really hard. And, and it's going to be hard. So she almost like created opportunities for it to be hard or to always be busy.
Right,
And
because she was manifesting that. Mm-hmm.
exactly. So a part of her didn't want to let that go because it was worried that she would no longer be successful. Again, this makes no logical sense, but she clearly felt it in her body. So what we did in a nutshell was kind of like what you're suggesting is first we kind of allowed that part of her to speak up. What is it saying? Where is it in the body? What does it look like, feel like, what color, all that stuff. And then just bring some compassion to that part, some love. As you said, it's all about, giving from our heart because we are here for a higher purpose. Mm-hmm. And so when she really tuned in, she could see that part of her, that doubt, that fear, as you said, and love it. That part just kind of melted. I mean, to the point that she actually imagined it dancing with her. And then she was able to have a pretty massive breakthrough. So it's exactly what you're describing here. Many of us have a false belief that success is not going to be easy, or it's easy for other people, but not for me.
Right.
And that is not true. It is a decision, and everything that falls, all the rainbow of opportunities, that follows, including the setbacks, are going to be a part of that. And you are just such a wonderful example through your life experience, all of the clients that you've worked with, that everything is possible when we believe that success is easy, when we act out of the belief that success is easy, until it becomes a real, as Muhammad Ali say, a deep conviction. Yeah.
Right. I think that, it's really important for people to really kind of embrace that belief when they start working with me, because you don't have to know the how. I'm going to help you figure it out. I'm going to hold your hand. We're going to get all this stuff done. You're not even going to recognize yourself in 1 year from now. Like you're going to learn so much and feel so, so taken care of and have an accountability partner all along the way. But you have to believe in yourself. I will believe in you probably more than you believe in yourself from the beginning, because I can see 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now as I'm planning out a business. I said, but you got to catch up, because that fear is allowing you to play small. And, most people that are going to be working with me have decided to move away from the fear, move away from playing small, even though they might be fearful when they make the investment, because it's not a small investment to work with me for a year. But when they make that investment, they go common sense, like to have a successful business in something I don't even know. I'm going to work with somebody that's been doing it for 25 years and has such an amazing success record. And I'm just going to believe in that. I'm going to just do everything that they tell me. And that's what I did. That's why I wanted to be a mentor, because I had those people. I had a group of 13 people that was a Fashion Alliance group that took me under their wing, and I didn't know anything. So that made me want to do that someday. I didn't know it at the time, but it makes it sense. Like if I was playing small, I wouldn't have gone back. In fact, 2 of the businesses that I sold, they stopped going to this group. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've handed you the biggest golden ticket there is, this group of, wisdom, knowledge, and it was very inexpensive. Like, that wasn't in the reason. I said, why'd you stop going? And they said, well, one says, I'm afraid of public speaking. Just instead of just standing up in front of a small group of people, I didn't want to talk about my business. So I just felt so uncomfortable. Like I couldn't go back anymore. I'm like, you're kidding me. So fear was holding her back, allowing her to play small. Another one, she said it interferes with my bowling night. I'm like, okay, you have to have priorities in business. You have to take it seriously, and those were two of my stores that actually failed. I mean, they were doing $1 million, both of them doing over $1 million when I sold them. I had everything in place, but they sabotaged it based on their own fears or limitations. That's crazy. When success here, just do what I'm telling you to do, follow the guidance of other people. Why are you trying to reinvent or hide out? That makes no sense. So I'm a big component of using common business sense, which is rarely used. You'd say common. It's not very common. But when I break everything down, I look at, okay, what's the return on investment? Does this make sense? And I go like really fast because again, I grew up at the school of hard knocks. So I've learned common sense in the trenches business. So sometimes I want something to work really bad and it doesn't make common sense because I'm still trying to analyze it. Like, I can't figure this out. That drives me crazy. And the one was the partnership I left. So my intuition was telling me this is not right, but I stayed too long. And the second was at this speaking engagement that I just did last weekend. I did two of them at the women's group. And I'm like, still not figuring it out. I love the passion. I love the commitment. I don't know, why am I doing this? Why am I here? I kept getting in my head. And it just comes down to common sense. Do you really want to do this? Don't do this. Is it making return on investment? It's too soon to judge yet. So shut the heck up and pay attention to see if those numbers come up, because it doesn't matter what you invest. You invest $20,000, $50,000, whatever you invest in building your business or investing in a venture, like, oh my gosh, I invested that much money. Well, if you see the return on investment, I mean, people are giving me an investment of say $20,000, and in 1 year, I'm helping them build a business that makes six figures. That's a massive return on investment, right? All they have to do is follow my lead and do everything I tell them, and they're gonna easily do that. But not everybody follows that path. They'll second guess themselves. They won't make fast decisions. So, not all of my clients work at the fastest speed. I'm fast. I make really quick decisions. So it kind of drives me a little crazy when they get stuck on the little detailed stuff, because I'm like, let's get past the details so that we can make some money. So we got to get those things done, but they don't have to be perfect. And I see that a lot too. So and I think that's also part of playing small, because if I focus on the little details and those little things that have to be done, I don't really have to stack up to that expert status yet, because there's part of me that's not really 100% confident that I can make that kind of money or get those kind of clients or believe in myself. And so usually they will get over it. I mean, 95% of my clients get over that. They keep moving, they make money, they do great. But I have a very small percentage, and I go, those are the people I don't want to work with anymore. They were not coachable, or they said, and I heard this from a client, well, after 5 months of working with her, well, she said diagnosed, like, oh my gosh, with imposter syndrome. Well, first of all, she decided to put herself in that box. She decided to hold herself up from success every step of the way, kept playing with the small pieces, because in her mind, she didn't believe that once she launched it, once a website got up there and it was so big, it was bigger than her. It is not imposter syndrome. Those are just words. I mean, I think everybody needs to take 100% responsibility for their own success in every level. And so you can't point fingers. You got to look at yourself and say, where am I not playing full out? Because if you're playing small, you'll have a small amount of success. If you take more risk and you invest in yourself and invest in your business because you deserve it and you're valued and you're looking for something that answers, because you can't do it by yourself. You can't. You have to invest with somebody else. And then the first time you do, then you value yourself. I remember the first time I invested $20,000 into just seminars. I had no mentoring. It was $20,000. And at that time, I didn't even have the money to just say, here, write a check. It was like I used maybe 3 credit cards to make that payment. But I knew that if I did that, I would be going to the seminars where all those other people were. I would align myself with high-level people. And from that, I would get my money back many times over. So it wasn't even the knowledge I was learning from the seminar. It was the people that I was aligning myself with. And then that investment came back probably 10 times over. But the other piece that it came back as an investment, it is in your head, is that once I can invest in a big amount, a number, I can ask other people to invest in me. So if you're going to play small and you're going to ask 5,000 for a speaking engagement when you just start out, you're probably not going to believe in yourself, right? But if you've invested 5,000 into a mentor to help you with speaking, then you're probably more likely to accept other people investing in you. Does that make sense?
The mindset of abundance. If I'm holding back, then energetically, that is what I'm sending out there, and that's what's going to come back to me. So absolutely, it makes sense. Yeah. And there are dozens and dozens of nuggets, Debbie, that you have shared with us today. And I believe that if anyone has a little, even a tiny little flame in their heart of wanting more, wanting different, wanting to align more with their deeper self, in listening to what you've shared with us today, and of course, reading your books, attending your seminars, they will get what they need, because success is a mindset. It is a mindset. Yes, we need the strategies and the tools, absolutely. But as you said, ultimately, it's a mindset. It's a decision that we make, because sometimes the tools are not enough. People self-sabotage. But when we have the mindset, then we're more comfortable to invest in the mentoring, to take the risks, to get back up when we fall, to ask for what we need, and everything seems to happen for us. So just you're a wonderful soul, Debbie, and I'm just really grateful that you're out there sharing this important message to help people believe in possibilities and believe that they can do it.
Yes, my pleasure for sure. It's also, if they want to learn more about the Success is Easy, like you say, you start with the book and you want to learn do the course. I have a very affordable course that follows that book model. And it's like, I think 10 different modules, 10 weeks that I went and did teaching, deep dive teachings on the topic of the book, all entrepreneur mindset stuff and how to build businesses as an entrepreneur. So the Success is Easy online course. And you can find that on debbieallen.com under success resources. So it's another way to continue on with that. I don't do seminars specifically on that topic unless I'm keynoting. Most of my seminars are all built around the other book I wrote called The Highly Paid Expert. And that book became a book, a signature event, a workshop, a mentoring program, an online course, all of the different things. So again, it's all what we teach is different levels of communication.
Thank you. And so debbieallen.com, is that the place to go to learn about all of the different ways to engage with you, learn from you, and work with you?
Most definitely. DebbieAllen.com. Debbie Allen, remember the name like fame. And you can click on my mentoring programs. You can go onto my podcast. You can go onto the event page. Everything's there. That's my world. I've had that website, Vera. I've had this since 1997. Like people's like, that's like a famous name, Debbie Allen. How'd you get that? It's been changed a few times since 1997, but that seems like the dark ages on the internet before we ever knew about search engine optimization. Like, oh, you got a website? Wow.
Well, that's what happens when you trust your intuition and you go for it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Debbie, from all my heart.
Yeah, been a pleasure here sharing with you and your listeners, and wish you much success and that it's easy. And if it isn't, pay attention. Pay attention.
Thank you. Right back at you. Thank you, Debbie.